Hello everyone and welcome back. And in a series of videos that I've been making on free but worthy plugins for your DAW for your music production, today I'm gonna test, review and evaluate and do an audio demonstration of Warmy EP1A Tube EQ by Skype Audio. Of course, I will leave a link in the description where you can download and try it yourself as well. I should mention that even though it's free to download, but you have to give away your email address so that they can send you the download link. If you're happy with that, it's good to go. Let's have a quick read about our plugin of the day. All the tube warmth you love packed into a plugin. The Warmy EP1A Tube EQ is a one-to-one analog model plugin based off a modern take on the classic Pultec EQs. The EP1A offers low boost, low cut, high boost, high cut, and an added tube emulation knob to dial in the amount of tube intensity you want. That's what it looks like, but I'm not sure why there's two pictures of them. I'm just going to click on it. Yep, and that's what it looks like. But looks could be deceiving, so I'm going to test it and see if it does what it says it does, run it to my project, and see how it actually sounds as well. Since this is a hardware emulation plugin, I'm just going to take a few moments to do a side note. There is no such thing as the best audio gear, whether it's a compressor, equalizer, or any other sound processing. If any manufacturer or any developer tells you this is the best plugin, this is the best audio gear, don't believe them. It's like someone telling you that a single spanner is the best spanner that will fit every nuts and bolt. That is simply not true. Same goes with audio hardware or software. The idea is to have as many as you can, but not too many that you are overwhelmed of audio gear or software plugins for compressors and EQs. Just like you have a whole heap of different sizes of spanners to fit every nuts and bolt, that's what you need. And that toolbox will slowly and gradually increase as you get experience. Just like in your garage, you don't all of a sudden get a whole heap of tools. You gradually, over time, as you need it, as you think you understand how something works or how something can actually make it easier and better, your toolbox grows. Same goes with audio hardware or software plugins, especially these days. But having your garage full of toolbox and you don't know which one to use to tighten the bolt, same goes with your audio hardware or plugins. You need to learn how they actually operate and how you can implement them in your project to change the audio source from what it is to what you envisage it's going to be. And once you understand what your tools can do, then you can quite easily select one or two of your tools, in this case plugins, to shape your incoming audio to the audio that you've envisaged. So don't go buying hardware gear or software plugins thinking that they're the best hardware, they're the best software, and that's going to make your song any better. No, the only thing that's going to make your song sound better and or your audio tracks really stand out is experience, and experience of knowing how to use your tools. And in this video, basically what I'm going to try to do, show you what all of the knobs and the switches do on this plugin, having a visual understanding of what it does, and then we'll be able to decide whether this plugin is best suited for the audio source that we have. Don't then let the name of Pultec fool you. Having the name and understanding how this equalizer works, then you can decide whether it fits for that track or not. Now, back to the video. So this is the Warmy EP1A Tube EQ inserted on my bass track. Just a very quick history. Pultec EQ are quite well known for their unique EQ curve, especially at the low frequency end. Because the two knobs we see right here, boost and cut, and the center frequency we can select, you can cut and boost the same frequency at the same time. I know that sounds confusing, but we're going to look at the graph later on and see how that actually affects it. And similarly to the high frequency, we can select the frequency of the boost and the frequency of the cut. And somewhere in between, there are frequencies that we can select both to be the same, and we can cut and boost at the same time. And we're going to find out how that actually works. Of course, we also have the bandwidth selection for the higher frequencies, so we can have that bell shape sharp or broad, depending whether we are cutting or boosting and how we want to shape it. Now, as Skype Audio instruction mentioned, that it does come with tube emulation as well, and that is achieved by the mix button here. And it's great to also see that there is oversampling, and I'm going to turn that on to 4 times. And if you don't know about oversampling and why is it useful, even though it can add some CPU usage by using oversampling, it can make it much clearer and less distortion. I do have the Warmy EQ sandwiched between Bottom's EQ curve analyzer, and we're going to be able to see that. And I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller so it can fit on my poor old laptop screen. And here we can actually see the line we are looking at, this green line where my mouse cursor is going. At the moment, it is in bypass mode and there's nothing happening in that area. Now watch what happens when I enable it. Straight away we can actually see, even though everything is in default mode, there are no cuts or boost on any of the frequencies, we get this low cut that actually starts about 60 Hertz. And we also have a high cut, probably just before 18 or 19 kilohertz. Let me turn it off again, and we get straight, turn it on, and it comes on. So knowing this, but using the graph, even before we can hear it, we should already have the understanding of what the effect of the plugin is as soon as we insert it into our track. Now, I have no experience with the actual Pultec hardware, and I'm just going to assume that that is the frequency response of this particular unit. Now, without spending too much time on this demonstration, I'm just going to switch some of the levels up and down and change the frequency of the low frequency as well as the high frequency, cut and boost, and we should be able to see the effect of that on our graph. Let's start boosting at 100 Hertz, that's the frequency selected. So as we can see, it is quite a wide Q that it's raising, like a shelf, and that's starting at 100 Hertz. Which is the center of the frequency there, selection. Let's switch that to 60. You can see that gets lower, but the effect of the low cut is still there. Even down to boosting 20 Hertz, we're certainly not boosting 20 Hertz that high up. Okay, and so that's sort of the highest sort of a peak that we can get at 20 Hertz. And then 30 Hertz, 60 Hertz, 100, 200, and 400, and 800. So we can see how that affects our frequency at the lower end. Now it's quite common to actually have it about 60 Hertz, especially if you're using for bass guitars and kick drums, is to boost, and then we start cutting at the same time. And we can see how now we have this dip around here about 1K, and that's the effect that we are getting because of the cut. And we can adjust the frequency to shift that dip. Next, let's have a look at the high frequency. Let's boost the default 8K that it said, and we should be able to see around 8K being boosted, nice and round, all the way up to 10 dB. And this is in a broad bandwidth, so let's narrow that so you can see how that narrows. It's still not 100% sort of like a bell shape. It does have this curve right here, which is different to the top end curve. And that's what really famous for the Pultec, of having not sort of a symmetrical bell shape on each end of the center frequency. And let's cut at 5 kilohertz. We can see we got 5 kilohertz cutting, and that pretty much got rid of all of the boost that we had. And if we put, let's say 3 kilohertz, and then we cut the 3 kilohertz, so we now have a big dip around here. And let's increase that to 10K, 12K boost, and 4K cut. So you can see how that actually affects all of the audio shaping. And by knowing this, we can decide whether to use the Warmy EP1A tube EQ or not. Let's do a quick audio test on a bass guitar and see what we can come up with. Probably about a 60 Hz boost. This will give us the widest boost. Trying to get sort of cut some of the higher, that's too much. Probably needs a little bit of higher frequency boost. Let's try 5K. Too much. Let's try 4K. Just trying to find that peak of the guitar, the plucking. Yep, thereabouts there. Let's before it. That's after. Much fuller, much warmer. Let's add some tube. And we can hear some distortion already. That's a buzzing there. If this is something you're after, that's probably what you want to do. But I would personally use minimal of the tube saturation there. Let's hear it in context. Bypass.
Did I just see something in your eyes, like a little look of surprise? Was there a start of a smile that's had its heart?
Bypass again.
All the way. Did you just read something on my face? In the spirals that are traced by those particles of grace.
Yep, that sounds really nice to me, nice and full, and probably all it need after this is a little bit of a leveling compressor, and from experience, something like the Opto one, like the LA2A type style, or any compressor that has sort of slow attack and slow release, and it should nice and smooth bass to shape the audio to sound fuller. And that's pretty much what this track would need, and that's it. So by knowing how the EQ curves of this plugin work, we were able to adjust it to making sure that we could hear exactly the result that we wanted from this track. So just to finish it off, I do have my favorite plugin, the Frontier, added with a little bit of compression. Let's see how it sounds. If this video was helpful, make sure you give me the thumbs up. and subscribe to my channels so you can get notified as soon as I upload my next video on similar topics. As always, thanks for watching and have a great time making music, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheerio, guys.
Spirals that are traced by those particles of grace passing through the clouds of my soul.